You're listening to the Conference Board of Canada's Mental Health and COVID-19 series with Dr. Bill Howatt, Chief of Research, Workplace Productivity.
Hi, Bill Howatt, Mental Health COVID-19. Welcome to week 7. Today's conversation, I'm going to talk to you about alcohol. Why am I talking to you about alcohol? The reason I'm talking to you about alcohol is my background in counseling specialized in addictive disorders, and I'm being fascinated by alcohol addictions, which is called substance use disorders, and others over the years. Paid a great deal of attention to how do people create patterns that actually can result in putting them on a continuum from problem user to someone that has a substance use disorder. One of the variables that I'm mindful of is when people are in stressful situations, that alcohol is a drug that people use to compensate often with stress, and it sneaks up in people. In fact, 75% of people in Canada over the age of 15 have used alcohol at least once in the last year. The problem drinkers, what we call problem drinking, is above what's called the minimal threshold. The minimal threshold in Canada is recommended is 15 drinks per week per male, never having more than 3 a day. In females, it's 10 drinks a week, never having more than 2 a day. Now, what we know is that we have lots of folks in Canada that are heavy users. That was before COVID-19. We also are realizing that alcohol sales are up and some people may be at home and moving into what's called day drinking. Day drinking is something that people may do on a Saturday to kind of calm because it's a weekend. But because now we're in a everyday and the days and the weeks and the Monday and Friday and start to get blurred for different people, it's common for people potentially to be looking at mid-afternoon, having a beer, or where they used to have a beer at lunch, and to rationalize what's a beer. And what can happen when you're under stress and you're not aware of it, our internal dialogue can say, craving, say, well, one was not good enough. And what happens with alcohol, we start to build up what's called tolerance. So one drink might have met the need, and then maybe it didn't, so we moved to 2 drinks. And so there's people who drink for emotional reasons, and then there's people who drink for social cognitive reasons. So there's lots of people can have a glass of red wine with every dinner, every night, not a problem. But if you find yourself, you start out with the intention of just having 1 drink that goes to 2 drinks, that goes to 3 drinks, that's starting to increase your risk for problem use, and it can sneak up on you. What can happen also is when we start to do that, we put our physiology at risk. These drinking tables are not just for concerns about substance use disorders. They're already also concerned about your physiology, your health risk for cancer, for heart attack, for disease. So we know that people who have consumed lower levels of alcohol have less risk for comorbidity of having cardiovascular disease, stroke, cancer, etc. So it's a public health issue as well. Now, what I want to do in my talk today is just not to be coming at you, nattering at you, or making it sound like I'm trying to suggest anything. However, if you or a loved one you're starting to notice that their patterns are starting to increase their frequency, their duration, the amount and the intensity of alcohol consumption, that could be an early indicator of problem use on its way to substance use. Now, the challenge with alcohol, why I want to talk to you about it, is that once you start to build tolerance, what's called withdrawal, that's mainly when you have that hangover. Well, the challenge is some people start to drink enough, and they keep drinking more and more, and enough for them. But then all of a sudden it becomes a high volume, for example, a quart a day. And then when they wake up in the morning, they don't feel that well, so they start drinking away to take away the edge, if you will. When you're starting to get at that level volume, that the number one thing you want to be aware of is not to start by yourself and make the decision, say, I'm going to quit alcohol because I've been drinking a quart a day or a 40-ouncer a day in some large volume. Alcohol is one drug. If you're drinking and you're concerned about someone's use, is to get medical advice on how it's best for you to stop. Often detox is a right protocol because people can die if they don't come off alcohol correctly based on their volume. So we take it very serious. It's a one drug that people can die during detox if it's not done correctly. However, if you're having 1, 2, and then 3 drinks a day, and you're starting to find yourself a pattern and you look forward to these drinks, that could be starting to create a habitual habit and starts becoming habit forming. What you may want to do is test yourself to see how your compulsion is by taking 3, 4, or 5 days of abstinence. And if you can't stop and not go with 3 or 4 or 5 days without alcohol, then you're probably starting to develop a cognitive issue. So what happens with, when I mean cognitive, a psychological addiction before a physical addiction. That's the challenge with alcohol. There's a psychological addiction and then there's a physical addiction. And what'll happen is once you start drinking enough where you psychologically want to have it and it starts to become a physical addiction, substance use disorder. I'm old school. I got to remember we don't use that word addiction anymore. It's important for you to be aware of that. So my coaching today, all I'm looking at trying to do is not to provide addiction counseling or mental health counseling. I'm just putting this out for your consideration that some people may be starting to increase their frequency of day drinking or drinking through the week. And what I'm going to ask you to consider is how in a stressful time where you're worried perhaps about finance or you're worried about your health or worried about restriction or isolated, not sure what else there's to do, is to be mindful how this can start to become a habit that can result in a whole bunch of other problems, as well as financially expensive and can start to drain your discretionary reserves if you're worried about money. So here's what my advice is. Drink conservatively, drink moderately. Don't drink if you can when you're stressed. I know that might sound silly for me to say that to you. I suggest to people, I'm a bartender's son, and one of the things I've learned, if you're out with your friends having a couple of drinks, or now today using Zoom or something at the end on a Friday, that's fine. And that's that social part. That's that kind of bonding. However, if it becomes the part where you actually need it and crave it and dream about it and think about it, then it's starting to move into something else. And the more we rationalize this becomes a problem for us potentially. So putting it out, one of the best things around any type of prevention is education. The purpose of this is to provide some education to bring this to awareness for you so that you and loved ones can talk about it openly and realize if you're starting to struggle, you can use your EAP program. You can talk to your local mental health provider. You can talk to local addiction support agencies and start to ask questions and talk to your physician. Ask questions to ensure you're not at risk. There's free online screens that you can do for screening your alcohol consumption. You can go online or your drug consumption. But today I'm focused on alcohol, just to ensure that your pattern use, that you're aware of it to reduce your risk. So that's the purpose of today is let's be careful. We're getting close to the other side of this. COVID wave 1 will be over. How we manage this and how we learn and grow will reduce our risk for COVID wave 2. So with this, please consider your drinking during the day or your consumption in regards to monitoring to ensure that you stay safe so that it doesn't lead to other health issues or mental health issues in a time that's unprecedented where it makes sense for some of us to be looking for ways to deal with stress. Just be mindful. I've seen this over 30 years. Trading in one set of problems for a whole nother set of problems is a challenge that I would rather, if I can at least say, provide some insight on it, it may reduce some risk. So with that, wish you all the best. Have a good week. Week 7, can't believe it. Still my apartment in Ottawa, still kicking. We're getting through this. And with that, I'm going to say best week for you and your family and all the ones you love. Take care. Do the best you can. We're going to get through this one day at a time. Take care. Bye. Hi, Bill Howatt here. Hopefully you're finding these videos of some value. If you'd like to share these, on the lower right of your video, there's a icon you can click. You can send it through your social media feeds. Join the Conference Board of Canada social media feed so we can keep you up to date. And if you have ideas, suggestions, please leave your comment so we can consider them. And if you have things that you'd like us to speak to, I certainly will try to do all I can to help out. With that, have a wonderful day.